Some years ago, when I got admission to study at a Nigerian university, my uncle asked to see me before I leave for school. In his parting words to me upon my visit, he said, "Boy, in all you do, always remember that life is about asset and liability." I had moved on since then to expand that piece of advice to mean a lot, including that actions have consequences regardless. Today, one of the greatest things that has happened to our lives as a people is the convergence of things in a simple gadget as a smartphone. Technology has interrupted virtually all our space. With this asset comes liability as risk associated with the introduction of these advancements. So what do we have? Several internet-assisted crimes known as cybercrimes are now committed daily in our various forms and life. One big story today we have for you today is the rising spate of criminal and cyber crimes in Nigeria. Its forms, victims, the force of the law to prosecute, if at all it exists, and more. The program is for every one of you because all of us are potential targets. Please stay tuned. I'm your host, Olu Phillips. Welcome.
When the world migrated decades and centuries ago into virtual space, lived there, and conduct virtually all their activities online, it defined what ease of life and business means. As borders and walls collapsed, boundaries and nations began to shrink in terms of connectivity gulf. And of course, Nigeria has not been left out in the fray. The advent of information and communication technology, massive digitization, and unprecedented interconnectivity provided by the internet has made the world a cyberspace village. Today, that space now defines the world in which we live because of the momentum internet transactions are gaining tractions every day. It has redefined the way we conduct our businesses, industry, governance, learning, medicine, and indeed every aspect of our lives. Well, not long before the three-pronged advent of internet, computers, and mobile phones started penetrating the Nigerian space, it has also brought unintended consequences such as criminal activities, spamming, credit card frauds, ATM frauds, phishing, identity theft, and what have been gradually regarded as cybercrime. The consequences have been grave lately.
Cybercrime is global. It's complex, it's complicated, its reach is global. It can be done from anywhere, remotely from anywhere in the world. So whether you're online or offline is not the issue. And I'll tell you why. The first digital weapon was created in 2008 by Israel and America. What happened? Iran was going to build a nuclear enrichment plant in Natanz. It's about 150 miles from Tehran. So, of course, Israel never wanted Iran to build that kind of thing. Of course, America supports that as well. So they're looking for a way, how can they infiltrate that particular nuclear plant? It's not on the internet. So it's what what they call air gapped. So it's away from the internet. There's no internet connectivity to that site. Now, they were looking for a way, how can they get to that site in the first place? So they use social engineering. That's one of the ways to infiltrate people who want to do cybercrime and all that. So social engineering. So Siemens was the major contractor for that project, Siemens Germany. Now there are 5 other companies who were working for Siemens on that project. So there was a particular file that they needed to be taken to Natanz site in Iran. What did they do? They infiltrated those 5 companies and installed a malware in those files in those companies. Now what happened was they're going to take that file on the flash drive, fly from Germany all the way to Tehran. So they became carriers. Those guys, without knowing, I mean, they were ignorant of the fact they were carriers. So they became carriers, flew to Tehran, got to the site, plugged the USB on the computer system that actually monitors and controls the centrifuges. Now what happened was the fact that when they put that thing, it activated itself on the computers. Now, rather than allow the centrifuge to actually work on the normal speed, it was 15 times faster. So it destroyed most of the centrifuge that Iran had. So that delayed their nuclear enrichment process. Now what am I saying here? You don't have to be online to be attacked. You can also be offline and be attacked. As long as your center of attack, somebody is looking for you, they will do all kinds of things to get to you. Just to tell you how delicate and how complex international cybercrime and cyber attacks can be.
Cybersecurity in reality is actually all that concerns information systems, use, management, abuse, protection. You understand? The scope is quite wide. It's different from information security. It's totally different. Information security is limited. But when you say cyber, you're talking of even your Bluetooth. You're even talking of your radio frequencies, security, securing your the traffic of your data over different bands. You're talking of your household. You're talking of Internet of Things security. You're talking of big data. Even these terms like big data and IoT are new terms in cybersecurity that are evolving and are bringing so much concerns to the world. Just like the recent issue we are seeing with United States and Huawei over the implementation of 5G and the security concerns associated with 5G. It's all about big data, it's all about cybersecurity, it's all about Internet of Things. The scope of cybersecurity is quite large. It governs, it's actually the next stage of warfare. Like one of my notable professors, Dr. Lunge Olumide, said, the currency of this modern age is information. The struggle of power is between those who have more information. And it is in my little way of advising, our advice, we start to employ standards in all our government institutions, because we are really vulnerable by the practices we carry out. We expose ourselves a lot.
Cybercrime is a new trend that is gradually growing as the internet continues to penetrate every sector of our society. Sadly, young Nigerians form the bulk of suspected fraudsters. With an estimated 201 million population and 60% of that number being youth, it speaks volume. How did we get these huge numbers enrolled? The actions and our inactions that allow these menaces to fester?
Somebody goes to university, for example, gets a 4-year education, does natural youth service, and the next thing he wants to do is get a job. And his mind is active. He wants to be useful and all that. He's very active. And suddenly, 1 year passes, there's no job. There are pressures from home and everywhere. Look, we sponsored you in school, we borrowed money to actually pay your fees and all that. You're supposed to get out of school and help the family. Now you're not even doing that. You're still depending on us and all that. The guy is under pressure. If he's not careful, he's going to be pushed to the cliff and down the cliff, and he's going to be getting into something that will give him money, no matter how bad or illegal that thing is. So that's where the precipice is, that's where we are basically. So it just goes down, and he says to himself, well, you know what? I need to get money anyhow. Just anyhow. So he thinks of which way. And again, he doesn't even see role models that are doing the right thing. From politicians to anyone. He doesn't see role models. What is his basically? Those who are actually making money legitimately are being praised and being held in high esteem in our nation. So, let me join the bandwagon as well. I can go through one of these things and make my money. Of course, when I make my money, I'll be considered as one of those people. So, we don't even have role models in Nigeria that they're going to look after, really. Because those who have made it, more or less, are being worshipped, even though they didn't make it in the right way. So that's another challenge on its own, apart from the issue of education. And if right education was there, the right attitude and character is developed, they won't toe that part. Okay, so for me, that's what we need to look at as well. How do we model these students or these youths from primary school up to university and all of that? How do we model them? Those that we talked about that no education, those ones, I think that's when I talked about the fact that once you educate a people, forget it, they're going to be civilized, they're going to live a good life. But once you take education from people, they're going to be in bondage and slavery and poverty, and all kinds of ills will happen. Because their mind has not been transformed and renewed to be human beings that know the value of the essence of creating value for others, have respect for others and all that. Education molds people to become useful human beings if the right education is done.
Drilling further, several internet-assisted crimes are committed daily in various forms such as fraudulent electronic mails, pornography, identity theft, hacking, cyber harassment, and many others. The one that is most pronounced is what is regarded in the local parlance as Yahoo Yahoo, Wire Wire, Yahoo Plus.
For Yahoo Yahoo, from what I understand, is young men or women who... Even women, yes, quite a number of women, who decide to have love interest abroad and then share their problems with those love interests, lie about what they're going through, lie about their location. I'm in a military base in Afghanistan, I am broke, and they send pictures of soldiers to them and they send money, right? That is Yahoo Yahoo in its very basic form. Wire Wire, however, is breaking into people's bank accounts, getting codes, and sending monies from those accounts into other accounts that are untraceable, and then routing that money through various other accounts all over the world until it gets to the person that's taking the money. It's actually debt dealing. Millions of dollars are taken every single day by these Wire guys.
Yahoo Yahoo is gonna stay. It's gonna stay as long as people can't feed. It's gonna stay as long as people still expose themselves, expose their financial data. Yahoo Yahoo is gonna stay. But the EFCC is doing a lot. The anti-graft agencies, they are doing a lot. I have to commend their efforts too. Lawful interception has been implemented, but in all, what I try to preach most times is on cyber defense, steps you can take to protect yourselves, and this is the essence of what we do as a business organization. To protect yourselves from hackers, to protect your systems from vulnerability or practices that could make you compromised. If you've ever been to Rwanda or if you've been to Europe, there's something trending there. Their payment system, they've incorporated what they call swipe. Just take your card and you swipe. You don't need to put your PIN and it debits you. Do you understand? Now, why will swipe work in Europe and is a concern for us? Because people will just see your driver will just take your card and go and swipe in the machine and your life savings is gone. But why does it thrive there? Because there are institutions in place that before you even move to the next street, you're already being caught. Yeah. Cameras are there watching you. Before you even take the next step, you'll be caught. Before you travel out, you'll be blacklisted. You understand? These institutions are where this is the level we are going to.
There are two sides of the same coin. Just as we have the perpetrators, you can guard yourself against being a victim. And this can be a function of very simple steps that are often ignored.
There's so many use and abuse of personal identifiable information out there. Till date, people still expose their ATM card to their driver, to third party. Till date, people still give too much information about where they work and about themselves on social media. Till date, people still connect to free Wi-Fi services, even though they don't know the origin of it.
That's danger.
Yes, please. Till date, people do not even conform to standards, even on their websites. You understand? People don't know that, if, for example, if you have a vendor offering you a services, and the vendor is giving you an SSL service, is it giving you SSL version 2, SSL version 1, or SSL version 3? SSL version 1 or version 2, a 13-year-old boy can decrypt that traffic and get people's username and passwords. These were tools like, I don't want to mention the name of the tools, but there are a lot of open source tools that are out there that fraudsters use to carry out this crime. We are not well prepared. I think what we need to do more at the government level is a lot of sensitization, especially on key government institutions. On the private level, I think people need to be aware of the information they give about themselves online to social media. So these are more a part of the strategy. Government also can do a lot in sensitizing the public through ad campaigns in the National Orientation Agency. You understand? There's a lot to be done, but we are not really prepared for the risk we are seeing now. That's what I can tell you.
Very recently, we've seen personnel of the anti-graft agency stepping up the campaign to stem the massive outbreak of cybercrimes. For instance, April 25, 2019, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission nabbed 32 suspected internet fraudsters in Ibadan. April 3, 2019, the same agency arrested 11 Yahoo boys in Ibadan. 10 suspected Yahoo boys were said to have been arrested in Abuja on May 17, 2019. In another incident, EFCC arrests 5 girls, 10 Yahoo boys in Port Harcourt on May 8, 2019. 37 suspected Yahoo boys arrested by EFCC Saturday, May 4th, 2019. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Advanced Free Fraud Section in Abuja was said to have also arrested 22 suspected internet fraudsters, popularly known as Yahoo Yahoo, in Delta State. The suspected internet fraudsters were said to have been apprehended during an early morning raid in Sapele on Friday, May 17, 2019. Yet in another development, the EFCC arrests 32 suspected Yahoo boys hiding inside chairs in Ogun State on Thursday, 25th of April 2019. The most prominent is the arrest of a Nigerian singer, Naira Marley. It's a trend that has sharply divided the music industry. The soft-spoken female artist, Simi, took to her Instagram page to shade Yahoo boys, asking them not to buy her albums, and the backlash that followed only underscores issues of value system and proper education in our society.
A well-established argument has been made to such a large extent to the massive link between value systems, society models, and the harsh reality of what cybercrime is doing to our society collectively. Who then builds the cart? How much am I protected by the law? What punishments are there for perpetrators? And what is the level of awareness out there in the society? Let's learn more.
Last year, I think it's almost about 192 billion that was lost to cybercrime, because the entire banking network is information technology based, is digital. Your transactions, so that is at the banking level. At the level of the individual who has a shop, who has a pharmacy, people come to the pharmacies and say, I've done a transfer to you, and they show you the transfer, and you actually get a text message that you've been debited, but the debit goes into their own account. It's that bad. So imagine the losses to those businesses when they don't get their monies and their monies goes elsewhere. Or you don't even get a debit for your account, but the goods have been given to someone who is a cyber criminal and he's gone. You can't trace him, you can't find him. No, there's no law that will help you or support you. So there's no way you can even trace that person, because we don't have the agency that is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that a forensic trace is done on all of these transactions. So it's really debilitating. People die. A woman in Akure the other day just realized that every single kobo in her account was gone. And she saw that she was the one doing transaction, but she wasn't there. And she collapsed. So that's how terrible it is. And for those who do wire, all these boys that cruise around in the best of cars, pensioners die in the US and in Europe when their monies are taken from them. Imagine someone has worked, a 64-year-old man who has worked all his life and just discovered that his account was taken. Nothing in his account. And they have to trace down and realize it was a Nigerian in Malaysia who was doing that. So it's very debilitating. It destroys lives, destroys businesses, and destroys whole economy.
As innovation continues to emerge in the cyberspace, mostly driven by new advancements, the big data phenomenon, and the Internet of Things, many advanced countries had long enacted their respective cyber laws. Before 2011, Nigeria was basically winking in the dark as regards governing laws for seeking redress. Clearly, no recognition was given to electronic or computer-generated documents in an evidential law. Under the Evidence Act Cap E14 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, that is the old evidence law, providing the authenticity and or the identity of an owner of an electronic signature appearing on any computer or online printout of contractual terms was very difficult. However, the enactment of the Evidence Act 2011, the new Evidence Act, resulted in substantial improvements on the old evidence regime, especially as seen in sections 84 and 93 of the new Evidence Act, which provides for the admissibility of computer-generated documents, the recognition of electronic signature, and waiver of its proof by means of writing on a tangible medium. So, contrary to doubts as to whether there are enabling laws, We witnessed a big bang which came into force in May of 2015 when Nigeria's former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, signed into law Cybercrime Prohibition and Prevention Act 2015. The Cybercrime Act of 2015 is the first legislation in Nigeria that deals specifically with cybersecurity. It provides an effective, unified, and comprehensive legal, regulatory, and institutional framework for the prohibition, prevention, detection, prosecution, and punishment of cybercrimes in Nigeria. So, the law is clear. Enforcement appears to be the weak link.
It's not about laws. It's about we have the will to do the right, to implement the laws. That's our problem. It's a problem. Because the laws are, for me, I personally said, Nigeria has all kinds of laws in this world. Sure, most laws in the world are domiciled in Nigeria. But we don't actually implement or enforce those laws when it comes to enforcing them and all that. Because when there's no punishment, there's no deterrent. People just feel like some A did it, so, and he got away with it. So if I do it, I'm going to get away with it as well. I'll look for what did A do to get away with it. I do what A did to get away with it. Of course, I'm going to get away with it as well. And that's the challenge.
When cybercrime takes place, there is a practitioner and a victim. But staying ahead of the curve is a function of understanding the constant evolution of information technology and how best to respond.
The intensity and the scope of cybercrime and cyber attack is huge. And the best nations can do or companies can do actually is to try and minimize the impact. Do their necessary protection strategy and all that to minimize the impact. Because the threat landscape is always changing. It's not static, it keeps moving. Because the hackers or crackers are looking for better ways to infiltrate you, to compromise you, to steal money or data. And because there are 5 threat agents, basically 5. Is that nation states are threat agents. Of course, there's a history by America is saying Russia attacked us. That is nation-to-nation cyber attack. It can be from insider threats, and that's more dangerous. Because the insider knows a lot about the organization he or she works with. So it can create more havoc for the organization. So that's 2. The third one actually is competitors. Maybe business organizations, they want to outdo each other. So they find a way to, through cyber attacks actually, to get corporate information or corporate data and all that. Okay? It might also be intellectual property, like China is doing with America. I mean, they steal a lot of Americans' intellectual property and all that for their own good. Of course, the hackers and crackers, and script kids who just do it for fun, not because they want to commit any crime. Then, of course, you have the main one, which is the cyber criminals, who are doing it because they want to steal money, they want to steal your credit card data, they want to steal your personal information. They're all over the place. So those are the 5 major threat agents. And they use all kinds of methods to get access to people.
When the criminal has succeeded in perpetuating the evil art of committing a cybercrime, how to launder the proceeds is the next possible line of action. This again is allowed to fester where there's no technology in country and ethical practice that traps such slush funds. So rather than celebrate the spending pattern of these fraudsters, there should be a culture of name and shame.
Family values are lost. As long as you have the money, nobody cares. So values are lost. Morals are thrown out of the window. And desperation now sets in. So it now leads to murder. Because there's a part of it that believes that if you murder someone, you can sustain that kind of money. So people start getting missing, parts are cut off. So there's a whole lot of link. It's a web. And there's no part of that web that has anything but dark about it.
The efforts to rid our society of the menace, or at the very least, reduce it to an all-time low, therefore becomes a collective bargain. The government, institutions, community-based advocacy, a citizens' army, and the buy-in of all. Our human capital index must witness new height. We must view education with a different lens than is currently in use.
The effect locally is debilitating, but more importantly, the psyche of our youngsters. Nobody wants to learn again. Nobody wants to code. Nobody wants to be an artisan. It's not attractive. What's attractive is either be a musician or be a wire or Yahoo boy. And if you look at what's happening to this Nigerian musician Naira Marley, And hopefully I hope that they have enough evidence and that he gets a conviction if there's an evidence. So it serves as a deterrent to the rest of them. But look at the agnes of young Nigerians online supporting him. And the story, the idea that it's our money that they are taking back, it is that bad. That's how debilitating and how terrible that's become to our ecosystem.
Away from the noise of trying to find some justification and hold pity parties about the legitimacy of the crime in the cyberspace, for reasons bordering on personality, we must stretch out and see what amount of damage to the society, the pain, the image, far-reaching consequences over time of all forms of cybercrime.
Did you know, for instance, that under the Cybercrime Act 2015 in Nigeria, hackers, if found guilty of unlawfully accessing a computer system or network, are liable to a fine of up to 10 million or a term of imprisonment of 5 years, depending on the purpose of the hack? The same punishment is also meted out at internet fraudsters who perpetuate these acts either by sending electronic messages or accessing and using data stored on computer systems. The Act itself contains 43 sections, and in a very important piece of legislation waiting to be put to maximum use. Please read up the full provisions of that Act today and see how much you may be protected without realizing it. And please, in all you do, stay safe at all times. See you next week. Bye for now.